can move that if that's going to be bonking your head and stuff.
Well kept room.
Oh yeah, the blankets are so fucking shit. It's been dripping all over my stuff as well, this blanket. You see how there's like little flakes? No, like flakes, like not actually dripping.
There's like...
Leaving little flakes and stuff.
Okay, that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so introduce yourselves. You go first.
Should I be talking, like looking at you guys, or should I be looking at like the camera?
Whatever you want.
My name's Connor. I'm from the States. I'm 25. I like to do exercise. And I right now work as a bartender and in retail in the mall, as well as occasionally pouring champagne for the lovely ladies of Cannes. And yeah, that's pretty much the video.
Okay, what about you?
I'm Danielle, I'm 23, I'm from England, Manchester. I'm in Australia travelling, working holiday, and yeah.
Okay, so what brought y'all to Cairns? Carnes? Is it Cairns or Carnes?
Cannes.
I say Cairns.
For me, I was in Melbourne when I first arrived in Australia, and I was there for a while, and the way I decided I was going to go to Melbourne out of all the cities in Australia was because I just looked up a list of the different cities in Australia, and I read a really short description about each one of them, and I was like, fuck it, I'll go to Melbourne. I also heard Sydney was expensive. Come to find out, they're pretty much like the same, more or less. So I went to Melbourne, and then I was there for a good number of months, and then I was going to go to Sydney to meet up with my friends, but then my parents ended up surprising me with a ticket to go back home to the States for the 4th of July to celebrate with my friends. And so at that point, and then I was only supposed to be there for a week. I ended up being there for like a month and a half, which is a whole long story. We had to build this deck, which turned out really great in the end. And then when I was coming back, I knew I had to do my 88 days. And so I was deciding between Cairns and Darwin because I knew those were two places. And so I literally just went onto Google and I searched up both the names. And I like the look of the Cairns Google image better than the Darwin Google image. So that's how I made my decision.
Solid research.
Yeah. Did a lot of research to figure that one out.
So I feel like it's a good choice.
I think so.
Do you want to stay in Cairns, or like, what is your plans after? Because I know you said that you're leaving soon.
Not like soon. I just found out that I'm actually only like halfway done with my 88 days. Oh. Which is shit, because I thought I was nearly done. And it's stressful sometimes. Like, I think, one, because of all the work and whatnot. And then two, because like sometimes it feels like I never leave this fucking hostel. Which, like, you gotta get out and you gotta get time to yourself as well. It's so important. Because otherwise, especially because there's always shit going on here, there's always people to talk to, and then my jobs as well always involve like talking to people. So my social battery, as big as it may be, sometimes just gets fucking drained, and sometimes like I find myself like oh, I'm not in a great mood, like why am I not in a good mood? And it's like, oh well, you haven't had any time to yourself in like fucking 2 weeks, you know what I mean? And so I've thought about like moving from here, but then my other option is going back to the States, because I wouldn't really want to move to another city in Australia, because then what are you going to do, just find work there? It's like, why not work at a place where you already have like a setup? So I don't know, I think probably stay here for a little while and then go to Spain when that opportunity presents itself.
Why Spain?
I told you about this, right? My parents are opening a bar in Mallorca.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, we're going to be remodeling it and helping them open it and whatnot, but so far it's like really far behind with the construction they're supposed to be already doing. Yeah. So it was supposed to open in like, you know, the end of December and or beginning of January, and now they haven't even begun the remodeling yet, so it's going to be probably like the middle of this fucking year, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. But that means there'll be some decisions to make, but I think I'm just gonna keep pursuing this endless summer that I've been on. Yeah. Because it kind of went from summer to summer and then back to summer, which has been great. Yeah. So I have no complaints. Fuck the winter. I could never see the winter again, and I would be totally happy with that. What about you, Danielle?
What's the question? Why am I in Cairns?
Yeah.
So I travelled to the East Coast. I started in Melbourne and then just worked all the way up, and then Cairns is basically the last stop, so that's why I'm here. I kind of want to leave, but I'm stuck. I feel like I don't really know what to do. Like I've been like, you've probably heard me saying that I don't know what to do. Like every other day I'm like, oh, I want to stay and get a job here, save a bit of money. And
Yeah, because I remember when we first started talking, that was like the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's such a back and forth in my head, and it's constant, but I'm just not doing anything about it, so it looks like I'm staying.
But like, why do you want to stay versus why would you want to leave?
I think I want to stay because it's safer, because I've got friends here, like I'm fairly happy here, and it's cheaper than the rest of Australia apparently, so it should be easier to save money. But I also want to leave because I never planned to be here, like it's not really what I wanted.
Where did you want to end up?
This is the thing though, like I have all the options to move, but I just don't know where to go. Like in my head, like I would either want to be in a big city, in like an apartment, like that kind of life, or on a beach, like just a different kind of vibe.
So what about like going back to Sydney here? Because that's a bigger city, right?
Yeah, but I'm scared of Sydney because of the housing crisis and the like everything being expensive, and I don't have that much money.
I was gonna say maybe like what could be a good opportunity is like you work up here for just a little bit, you save up enough money to get yourself set up in a place like Sydney.
Yeah.
So then you're not going down there like totally like fucking yourself up because you're like, wow, it's probably, I'm sure there's tons and tons of jobs in a place like Sydney, but then it's about finding them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is such a big city. And then, but I feel like you have nothing but like good options,
Yeah.
It can feel weird when you're at like the that like pivot point where you can decide you can go this way or that way, and when you're kind of like still in that point, you haven't chosen a full-on direction, it can feel very tumultuous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like good options that you have to it's not like, oh, I'm gonna die from this snake bite, or I'm gonna cut my arm off. It's like, well, this fucking sucks. It's like you either stay here with friends or you move. You obviously will make new friends, and you'll but I always feel as well, it's like it's more about the people than like the place, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the environment's definitely a big factor.
Yeah, because like you could be in the most fucking miserable place in the world, but if the people you have around you care about you and you feel like respected, and like you get lots of positive reinforcement, and I feel like that is way better than being in fucking Hawaii with a bunch of people that you don't like. Yeah, you don't like, or that don't give a shit about you or whatever,
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. Like in my head, I could make it so much better, because if I knew that I was staying here, then I would just live this life, and like that's so fine because I am happy here.
Yeah.
But I'm not, like I'm still like an in-between, because I'm half here, half not,
I feel you.
Well, you could always come back.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure if you're happy here, go try somewhere else.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, you always have that choice.
Exactly.
That's true.
And also the job thing, like I'm trying to get a job here, but I also can't go on here. So maybe I should try somewhere else.
Have you considered doing a comm here?
Yeah, I've thought about it.
Because like when I first got here, it took me a long time to get a job. To be fair, I was doing a lot of drinking, not a lot of applying for jobs.
I'm the same.
But yeah, but like it would have been the absolute like I would have been in financial ruin if it wasn't for a comm, because I was going through my money like crazy, but not having to pay that, I don't know what it was at the time, it was like $250, not having to pay that like $250 or whatever per week was like huge.
Yeah.
And it gave me more structure in my day as well, where it was like, okay, I've got work, as well as like I think it kind of like bonds you with the people that you're doing it with, because you start to feel more like a part of. I was saying this to someone the other day, like in the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, there's like all the people on the ship or whatever, and the longer that they've been on that ship for, the more they're like a part of the ship, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's literally like this fucking hostel, like, and when you do a comm, you just become part of like
part of the crew.
Part of the crew, you become part of the ship. And for better or for worse, but I think most of the time it's for better, because you get to meet everyone. And then they used to do fun things, like every month there'd be like you'd have this party where from 8 o'clock until midnight you'd get as many drinks as you wanted for free. It was so sick. it led to so many hilarious moments and hookups, because everyone from Mad Monkey Central, Mad Monkey Village, Mad Monkey Waterfront, and Bounce, all the staff members would all be doing this, and so it's like a kind of a huge, massive crossover episode, and it was just so hilarious to see. Like, there's some people who are here right now who who hooked up with some really funny people like that night, and then for me personally, I just blacked out really hard. Like, most times, like the like it's always bad when you get like competitive with something like drinking, because no one ever wins when you're competitive with drinking. Everyone loses.
Yeah.
Like,
always a bad idea.
it's never a good idea. And like, I'm also a very competitive person. There's this funny Theo Von thing where he says he's like, I'm competitive and all my friends are alcoholics. And it's kind of true though. And so I probably had like 20 something drinks that night before blacking out and then getting cut off at Woolshed.
Oh my god.
Taya was the one who cut me off. She was like, she told me that she said she was only gonna give me water, and then I flipped her off. And then, yeah. And I don't remember that at all. I ran into her the next day and I was like, oh, what's up, Taya? And she's like, hey, Connor, like, do you remember last night? And I was like, not a chance.
Oh my gosh. So, how many places have y'all traveled, like, in total?
What do you mean, like different countries?
Yeah, like...
I think I'm at like 17.
17 where?
Mexico, Canada, Nicaragua, British Virgin Islands, Spain, Morocco, Portugal, France, Italy, okay, and then some of them I counted because I flew through them, which doesn't really count.
No, it doesn't.
Croatia, I actually spent some time there. Oh, Thailand, South Korea, Australia, obviously. I think that's all I can think of.
Out of all those places, where did you enjoy being the most?
My two favorite cities that I've ever been to are Florence, Italy, and Barcelona in Spain. I thought those were just so phenomenal. Like, Barcelona has everything. It's got like an incredible beach. Everyone's so active there. There's good nightlife. I don't really like the nightlife that much personally, but I think it's because when I was there, it was like me. It was my family minus my brother. I'm really tight with my brother, but it was me, my sister, and my sister's friend going out predominantly. And not only are they so much younger than I am, like 6 years younger. They also are two girls going out and experiencing like European nightlife. And for me, like the probably the least relaxing or least enjoyable way you could go out to a nightclub would be with your sister and her friend, because I just felt like I was constantly like on the watch. Like I was like, I don't trust any. It's hard to like try to go and make friends when you're like, I don't trust a single one of these fucking horny bastards.
Oh, that's cute though.
So I had to stop going out with them, as well as and then one time we ended up where my whole family was there. This is when my brother had arrived as well, I think. And so not only was my sister and my sister's friend in the club, but so was my mom. And I was like, this could not get any worse. Like, literally. And then my grandma ended up showing up as well. But I feel like I worry less about that than the other three. But yeah, I think Barcelona is fucking amazing, and the food was actually really good. I'm unpopular, maybe it's a hot take, but I don't really like paella that much. I know people love paella, but not really.
No.
Not for me. Like, maybe I just had bad paella, but I feel like I've had good paella.
It's mostly just like rice, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'd rather, like, when I was in Italy, like Florence, I don't think we ate any really like crazy food. But the city was like beautiful, like so pretty, and there's this amazing church that was like, it doesn't even look like real. It's like so beautiful. It's like green and white and like kind of rose, like pinkish or whatever. Yeah. So beautiful, and like just the vibe of the city was just like, there's just something about it, you know. Yeah. And I love how in European cities you just like walk around everywhere instead of like driving. You just like. You think about like how many people have like done that exact same thing before you, and it's like just crazy. It's crazy to think about. What about you, Danielle? Where do you think where have you gone to?
I I feel like it's easier for people that live in the UK. Everyone says like you can just go to Europe easily, so I've done like a few city breaks that I can't think of. Prague, Dublin.
I've heard Prague is really great. Like, the beer is super cheap there and stuff.
Yeah.
I really want to go to Dublin.
Yeah,
really.
Dublin was so good. Like, I didn't kind of know what to expect. Like, I thought it was just... I didn't have such high hopes, but it was so good. Like, the nightlife was amazing. It was just so busy in the streets and just, like, good vibes. Yeah. We went in, like, March, I think, so it was still kind of cold, but it was just... Like, I just wasn't expecting it at all, and it was so, like, higher than what I was imagining it to be.
What is it like going out in Manchester?
I like it. I think because I've lived there my whole life, like, it just is what it is. But I think for other people that were to come, like, they say it's a good night out and stuff. But I'm used to the clubs, so...
I feel like it'd be super weird to go out and hear, like, I mean, it's kind of like... It's not really like that in Australia because there's so many backpackers in the places that we go. Could you imagine if, like... I guess I never really thought about this in Melbourne either, because I feel like I never talked to, like, that many people when I went out. But I feel like it'd be weird to go out in a place like Manchester and everyone's speaking with, like, an English accent, you know?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird to think about? Like, yeah. Probably be weird for you if you came to, like, the States and everyone was speaking with, like, an American accent.
Yeah, I feel like here it's fine because everyone's a mix. Like, you just expect no one to be from where you're from, really.
Yeah.
So during your travels, for both of y'all, was it mostly just staying at hostels, or, like, how did y'all do that? Yeah,
I'd never stayed in a hostel before coming to Australia, and I was like, I really wasn't sure how it was gonna be. I don't think I really had. I think I'm sure I wrote it down or, like, talked about it in one of those videos about what I thought it was gonna be like. But I remember the first hostel I stayed in, it was so shit. And I was like, I thought that was how all hostels were. And I was like, fuck me, this sucks. I was like, how am I going to do this for like a year? And it's funny how, like, the longer you stay in hostels for, the more you just become so accustomed to these things you would never think you would get accustomed to. Like right now I feel very privileged to be in a room with only one other person. And, like, you know, like,
that's crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because, like, I still share, like, all my stuff. Like, you think about back home and it's like, holy shit, I live like a king, or, like, I live like royalty back home. It's like I have my own bed. It's like not a fucking twin. Like, it's like crazy. And, like, so it's funny because you just don't really think about that anymore. You just kind of live, like, your life, and you don't think about, like, I think what life is like back home as much.
It becomes more normal.
Yeah, it becomes very normal. And, like, I remember in the first one that I stayed in, like, I figured everyone, maybe this is just, like, American ignorance or whatever, but I thought that everyone was just going to speak, like, perfect English. And there were so many people from China in my first in my first hostel. And, like, I remember I went downstairs and I found out there was a free breakfast. Oh my god, it was I had this fucking huge amount of Vegemite that I thought was Nutella.
Oh no!
I put it all over my toast. I can, like, still, like, remember, like, the taste. It was so shit. And I remember I was asking this dude beforehand. I was like, I was asking him, "Oh, is this the free breakfast?" And the guy just didn't speak, like, really hardly any English. And he told me he was from China or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I did not expect to, like, that. Because then I remember, I think part of this was the flight as well, because the flight's very long. But I remember when I hopped in an Uber when I first arrived in Melbourne, this guy was from New Zealand, and I fucking he was English speaking, pretty strong accent, I think. Barely understood what the fuck that guy was saying as well. And I was like, I've never been in a situation before where I'm talking to someone who also is a native English speaker who I don't understand, you know what I mean? And eventually I met this guy from Newcastle, when I was staying in a hostel in Melbourne, and that guy it's called, like, a Geordie accent. And that guy just could not understand him for the fucking life of me. It was so bad.
Yeah, that's gotta be one of the worst.
It was really strong. It was I think this guy just had a really strong one as well. And then, but there was this fucking really smelly guy in the first hostel. He was, like, maybe 30-some years old, like, really frizzy orange hair, thick glasses. And I remember when I was coming down the stairs, he was coming out the stairs with his suitcase. And I was like, I gave him, like, a nod or whatever, and then I was like, was like, what the fuck is that smell? And then I was like, it was that fucking guy. And so and I walked out and I could smell wherever he had been. He was just leaving
like
a
trail
of stink behind
like
him.
a slug.
And so I was like, oh my god, I hope that guy's not in my room. And of course he was fucking the bed right next door to me. And like, and then there was this woman who was above me, she was a little bit older as well, but she was like I think I've said this before, but like at night and stuff, I remember I woke up in the middle of the night to just like and she had been just playing with herself in the bunk above mine. And I was like, what? I was like, I got fucking this girl fingering herself, and I got this fucking stinky dude who keeps waking up and kicking over everything. I was like, what have I got myself into?
Where am I?
It's so weird when you think about the fact that you sleep in a room full of strangers as well.
That is really
it's such a weird concept that you're
just
used to.
Because I think you have to like trust them and everything. Like, so, like don't steal my stuff. Don't mess with me in my sleep.
Yeah.
I was so nervous that my stuff was gonna get stolen. I used to put a padlock on my bag, and I would lock it. I'd like religiously just lock it because I was like, I don't want any of my shit to get stolen.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you just become like accustomed. You're like, no one really is gonna steal your shit. And you hear horror stories, but like they're so uncommon, you know.
Yeah. What about you for your hostel experiences?
So same. Like I'd never stayed in hostels before. I'd stayed in one in Copenhagen, but we had a private room, so it was kind of fine. But even then, I was like, it's just not a hotel. Like it's just different.
Yeah.
So I feel like at least I had that to like prepare me. But then when I got to Australia, I also was jet lagged. Like just got off a 24-hour flight, whatever. I landed in Melbourne. I was in like a female-only dorm, so I feel like that helped. And everyone was really nice. And it was a really nice hostel. Like it would like like the built-in beds with the curtains and things, not like a view. So it was a nice one. But I was just homesick, and I was like, what have I done? I've just moved across the world, so I was like feeling it. So that was like my first hostel experience. But after that, like you just get on with it. Yeah. I was traveling, so I was just not really thinking about the living situation, but just the activities and whatever. So it was fine. But it's like you said, like I feel like your standards just go so low. Like
yeah, they really do.
I never thought that I would be staying like a room like this and sharing with strangers, but it's fine. I haven't had any like horror stories. There's been the occasional snorers.
Yeah.
Or like people coming in late and like making a lot of noise, but you just have to expect it. Like
I think my biggest thing with it is the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Boys are gross, sorry.
Yeah.
Every time I go into like the bathroom on my side of the building, like it's the toilet seats are always busted, there's pee all over the seats, like it just smells like urine in there, and I'm just like
yeah. I feel like you just accept that you never really feel 100% clean.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. The apartment people, they have a guy who's up there who apparently whenever he pees, he just misses the toilet. And so it's like something that I realized when I was in college, because like I never had a roommate until I went to college, and then I had a roommate in the dorms, but that dude was fucking crazy. Like I could tell you a lot of stories about that guy, but he ended up moving out like halfway through the year, which is perfect because then I had like a dorm room like to myself, which was super nice because I had a girlfriend at the time as well. And like and then when we all moved into a house like that next year, I remember realizing like, oh, like people weren't raised with like the same like, you know, housekeeping things that I was. And obviously that should be something that's obvious, but it doesn't really hit you until it hits you. And you've got all these people who it's like you kind of are, whatever their parents thought was okay and wasn't okay, now that's usually what they think is kind of like their blueprint. And for some people, they maybe do exactly the opposite. Like they might have a really tediously clean, like mom or dad, and then because of that, they've never really had to worry about cleaning.
Yeah.
And then, like, man, like fucking, just you deal with a lot of stuff, and then here it's like even worse because it's not people you even chose to like live with.
Yeah.
But I really do believe that stuff like that only makes you better as a person because it makes you more patient, makes I think you more understanding. I mean, of course there's gonna be some people who are just gonna freak out and be like, I don't want to put up with this shit, like fuck these other people, whatever. But I think if you can learn to be more like understanding, and then I think that helps you as like a person, as opposed to like always just having everything be exactly the way that you want it, you know?
Yeah, I think definitely having those experiences where it's just like, I don't really like this, definitely helps you grow as a person, like
Totally.
regardless of anything.
Yeah.
So like throughout all of your travels, like I know like the feeling of like loneliness comes up a lot, at least for me. Like there'll be times when just like when I go to a new place, I'm just like, fuck, this sucks, I miss like all my friends and stuff, and like I'll get really, really sad about it. So like what do you guys do for, or like what are your experiences with that, and like what do you do to help yourself?
I feel like for me, I don't miss my friends as much. Like sure I do miss them, but it's not like they feel so far out of reach that it's not like oh, I'm really craving that chocolate bar I have just in my fucking you know, my basket or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh, that chocolate bar is halfway across the world in another country. I'm not really craving it because it's just not
there,
not available for me. So like it's a weird analogy I think to use. But that's just the first thing that came up. And like, so I don't find myself missing them. There was this girl a while back who was talking about how she believes that when you're traveling and stuff, you end up with, like, everyone ends up being a little bit, like, kind of touch deprived, or, like, physical touch deprived. Obviously for some people it's more than others, but I think there's something, like, as people, obviously, like, you know, everyone's backpackers, we all, like, hookups happen and whatnot, but I think there's something different that's not hooking up, but more just like, you know, like something wholesome, like cuddling, right? And I think people get deprived of that, and then they seek it out, and they seek some sort of like connection with other people to fulfill that, or to fill that battery that maybe is a little bit depleted. Because when you are away from your family and you're away from everything that you know, like how we are over here, then it's like that desire for comfort and that desire for feeling basically like held, you know what I mean?
Like safe, the security from it and all that.
Goes up a lot because of, I think, to fill that void of the things that we're missing and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know, I definitely do miss my friends and my family.
Yeah.
Like my mum and my sisters, because like we were all close. I don't know. I feel like I do get the like touch deprivation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't seek it out with like random people. I would have to be like have a connection with them.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting when you have like I always think about this time when I was in Arizona, and I had like moved down there, and I've been down there for a handful of months, and I had mostly just been working, and my job, I was like gone a lot of the time, so I didn't really know that many people in Arizona. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I have not talked to a chick in a while. It's been a minute. And I remember thinking back to when this girl was living in my house, when I was between sophomore and junior year of college, I think. And I was like, man, that girl, like, she had such a gnarly crush on me. I didn't really feel the same way about her, but like if I wanted her, and we only hooked up like a handful of times, like maybe like 2 or 3, because I think I must have just been, sounds bad, I think I just must have been like horny in those moments. But that's a whole long story. But I was like, why didn't I hook up with that girl more? And then it hit me when because I at the time I was confused about that. I was like, why didn't I, right? And then down the line, I went through a phase where I was going on so many dates in Arizona, because I found out that you could just use Hinge and talk with like so many people at once. At one point I was talking to like, I think I hit like 52.
Oh my god.
But there was like 3 or 4 different stages. There's people who you've just started talking to, people you've talked to a little bit, who you've gone on dates with, and then the people who you're going to continue to go on dates with, you know what I mean? And so, anyway, like I had a hookup with this one girl, and I just did not enjoy it at all. And it's such a funny thing, because like sex is the most intimate thing you can really do with someone else, and it's supposed to be special, and everyone thinks it's like this always this amazing thing or whatever, but sometimes it's genuinely just not. It's just not amazing, and sometimes like in this situation I was like, fuck, I just want to finish so that I can get this over with. And like, so I think sometimes when you go out on like a night and you hook up with someone, you feel like you're gonna leave feeling very fulfilled, or at least like you've like filled up again that like battery for whatever it is. But sometimes you just don't click for whatever reason. Like, for example, there was this chick who I hooked up with a little bit ago, who I had a crush on this girl for months, for months. And eventually we finally hooked up, and I was like, I'm very physically attracted to this girl, but like personality-wise, we just do not, we just don't.
There's not that connection there.
Yeah, and so I it was weird when I left it. Like, usually I feel like I would feel like holy shit, I can't believe I just fucking hooked up with like this girl that I've been crushing on for so long, But instead I left it being like, like it really wasn't all that I thought it was gonna be. And I was like, maybe I'm putting too much value on like sex, you know what I mean? Or putting too much value on.
I don't think it's like putting too much value. I think it really just depends on like the person, because like some people like you'll form that connection. Some people you just don't, like you just don't click with them, and it's like, I just think it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were some of your best moments traveling or just in life? Like, what were some of your best moments that you can remember? Or your favorite memory, I guess.
Do you want to go for this, Danielle?
I don't know, I think it's just a whole new experience. Like, I've never travelled before. Like, I've done like holidays and breaks and things, but never like continuously travelled. And like to do it alone on the other side of the world, I think it's like a big thing. So
yeah, definitely is.
Yeah. But then, I mean, Australia, like, it is such a good country. Like, there's so many things to do, like Whitsunday Islands, Fraser Island, like just like typical things. Like, they are so good.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite memory out of everything, or?
Probably sailing on the Whitsunday Islands on Christmas Day, because that's like a whole different experience. Like, I would never, like, Christmas has been the same for the last 22 years, and then this one was different, so I think that was good.
Cool. What about you?
I don't know. I was gonna say, like, I think knowing who you are as like a person, Danielle, like, I don't know if you are, but you should be very proud of yourself for for like,
yeah, for sure.
I think I'm sure it's something that was totally out of your comfort zone, but like you should genuinely be super proud of yourself for doing that. And
it takes a lot of strength and it's a lot of courage.
And it's so character building as well, because there's just so many uncomfortable situations that you get put in. Like, you go into a new hostel, and it's like, oh my god, who are all these people? And everyone else like is so tuned in. And you feel like sometimes it's like you're a rock that's just been dropped into water, and it's really murky for a little bit, and then it eventually becomes clear, and you can kind of see that rock again.
Yeah, that's definitely how I felt when I came to this hostel. Like, the first week I was here, I was just like, I don't want to go downstairs. I don't want to talk to people. I'm scared. Like, they're all gonna judge me. And then like there would be a couple times that I came down, I'm just like, everyone's staring. Yeah. Like, they all hate me, and like I had all these like negative thoughts going on in my head, so I was terrified. And then like I went on the pub crawl that first Friday, and it was so much fun. And like it's just like, oh, everyone's kind of the same here. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's very it can be so intimidating. Like, I feel like if you dropped me in like another hostel, like I feel so comfortable at this hostel because I've been here for a while, and like you just kind of meet everyone, and it's easy to be I think really social and outgoing when you just kind of know everyone, or you feel very comfortable in a situation, versus if I go over to bounce, like, if I was there for like a week or something, maybe I'd start feeling a little bit better, but it kind of feels like it's someone else's house and you're just staying in it, versus the longer you stay in a hostel, it starts to feel like it is your house and it's everyone else's house as well, but you don't necessarily feel like you need to walk on like eggshells around people, I guess.
Yeah, you start forming that like family feeling around the people that you're with, for sure.
I remember the first time I met you was at the bar on the pub crawl. I remember you were sitting down and talked for a little bit about I think just probably both being from the States and whatnot. I remember the first time that I I don't remember the first time I met you, but I remember the first time that I saw her, Jake, like Corin Jake in Georgia, because Oscar and Jake had come back, and someone had told me that they had come back before I had actually seen them come back. And then they were like, oh yeah, and there's these 2 blonde girls that are with them as well. And I was like, who did they bring back from Blue and Sunday?
Yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah. But I don't know if I have like a favorite memory from traveling. I think like I'd have to really look back. You know what I think it is? I think it was having my brother here for a month. I think that was like was such a like just totally irreplaceable. Like that's one of my favorite things I feel like that I've ever gotten to do is like because for me like when I get excited about something like and there's people that I care about, I like always want to show them. Or if it's like if I like let's say I figured out like this would never happen, but if I figured out a really great restaurant, I'd be like, everyone, you gotta go to this restaurant. You have to go to this restaurant. Because, like, I don't know exactly why, like, I'm like that, but I just, like, if I think something's great and I think other people will like it, I'm like, hey, dude, try this,
share it with them, yeah.
I want to share it with them. And so, for my brother coming over here, there were all these things that I thought about, like, wanting to show him or talk to him about or like be like, hey, like isn't that crazy, look at that bird with the really long legs, like it. And like then when he got here I was actually able to be like, yo, you remember I was telling you about those, like and so that was really, really special. And then I always feel like kind of like paternal when I'm with my siblings because like they sometimes need advice, and I feel very fortunate that a lot of times, maybe not my sister, but my brother will come to me and will talk with me and stuff, and I love that I get the opportunity to be like supportive and listen to what he has to say and whatnot. And I think it was tough for him at times here, like with the finding a job thing, as well as doing long distance with his girlfriend and whatnot. But that was really special, and like generally now I look back on it and I'm like, wow, well I've met so many other like amazing people here that I wish you guys could meet him as well, because before he came I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited for everyone to meet my brother. Like I fucking yapped so many people's ears off about it. I was my brother's gonna be here soon, my brother's gonna be here soon.
Oh, that's cute.
And then he got here and everyone got to meet him and I was just so gassed up. And then when he left, like I was obviously very sad, but and then now, like I said, like I wish like I could like talk with him about like all the people that are here or whatever, but it wouldn't be the same as like everyone like
actually
you know. So that I think was my favorite moment from traveling this past like year or however long it's been.
That's awesome. What about your worst? Like, what was the worst, like saddest or scariest, or like the thing that just kind of sticks in your mind and like you had a hard time with? Danielle? You look like you're thinking pretty hard.
I don't know, I guess probably just loneliness.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I think when you're traveling as well, because well the way I did it, like it was a like 6-week tour, so you're only in one place for like a couple of days max. Like here I think I feel so much more comfortable because I've built the relationships and like I've had time, and it takes me such a long time to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But like I feel like I'm finally at that place here, but in all the other places like I didn't have that because like I just didn't have the time to do that. So I think just in general,
the loneliness.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, because like when I first saw you I was just like, oh, she must be like such a confident person, because like obviously you're gorgeous, and I was just like, oh, she just looks like someone that would be like super confident. So it's so interesting learning that you're more like reserved and like more like withdrawn, I guess.
Yeah, it is true. Like when you see someone like initially, you kind of make assumptions about how they must be or how they must think of themselves.
Yeah.
And when you find out that it's actually it could be the same thing, but it could also be different, and then you're kind of like it's really fascinating for me, because I'm like, I wonder what went into like, because we're all like whoever we are in this very moment, there were so many different things that went into building us into like this person. You know what I mean? And so you have to wonder, or for me, I always wonder like, oh, what went into like making this person this person, you know? And it's very interesting. I think I agree with you. I think like when I was down in Melbourne, I was in a hostel, like the hostel that I ended up staying at for a while was the Space Hostel, or Space Hotel, but it's like a hostel. And it was really nice. Like, there was a hot tub on the roof, which was fucking sick. I spent so much time in that hot tub. I love hot tubs. And then there was like a gym in there, like a gym, and then a movie theater as well, but like a proper movie theater. But I was working this job at like a nightclub where I'd go to work at maybe like 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Then I'd work until sometimes like 5 or 6 in the morning or whatever. And then my other coworkers, they'd usually go out afterwards. And I was like, holy shit, how can you guys work a full shift and then want to go out and party? But you know, that's how Melbourne is. It's fucking crazy like that. And so I was very unhappy at that time because for me, I think like the weather is a huge thing. Like I need warm weather. I need the sun. Like if I don't have it, I'm gonna be fucking depressed. Like that's just how it goes. And so it was not very good weather down there. Everyone in my hostel spoke French mostly. So I was like, whenever an English-speaking person would come through, I would get so tight with them because like I was good friends with all the French people. Like I love all those guys. They're all great. But holy shit, like some of them barely spoke any English at all, which obviously makes it hard to like, you know, talk, let alone create a friendship. And then there were these 2 girls who were there, and they were both very hot. Like there was a French one who was really, really hot, and an English one she was very pretty, but I wouldn't say she was as hot as the French one. And I hooked up with the French one, and then I wanted to hook up with the English one, but then she ended up hooking up with this French dude, which, to be fair, I don't think I really put in the groundwork there, but it still is like...
Gotta try harder.
I guess so, because it was, I don't know, it's a complicated situation, because you don't want to give someone too much attention, but then you don't want to give them, like, enough, or, like, too little attention that they don't think that you're interested in them, and then it becomes this fucking, like, you know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I remember really, being, like, sometimes situations like that come up where, I was saying this earlier when I was talking with Jess, I was like, you always should think about things like you are the best option. Even if you don't, like, believe that you're the best option, even if you know for a fact you're not the best option, which hopefully that doesn't come up too much, like, you should always strive to believe that you are the best option. And I think when you're confronted with something that says otherwise, you kind of like look at yourself and you're like what could I have done differently? You know?
For sure.
Or what is going on here? Like, and that was a situation where I was like, damn, like, cause like the French dude, was not like, didn't speak particularly great English. Not really a very handsome fella. And I was like, I think he, really what I think it was, is he was a very horny dude. And he was like, I think persistence and like tenacity sometimes beats out everything else. And I think that's what he had in that moment. And it's funny as well, because I remember I was good friends with her, and I was good friends with there's this Scottish fellow named Dylan. Dylan's a man. He's a very good dude. Dylan and Nathan, and then this other guy named Nathan were most of my really good friends there, as well as this guy named Matt as well. And then Batiste. Batiste was a great dude. He hated the French though. He was French, but so did Nathan actually. Nathan hated the French, and he's French. But like Dylan, it was so funny because like I think for a lot of people they'd be like, oh, like pretty handsome fellow. But Dylan, like, maybe I shouldn't have used his name actually now that I think about it. But he's like, he just lacks like confidence so much. And it was so funny seeing that because like, not that everything's not always about looks. It's about confidence and personality as well.
Yeah,
but I think
for sure.
the initial attraction is usually about looks, you know?
Yeah.
And it was funny with Dylan because there's this girl who he was hooking up with named Charlotte. And she was French, and you know, not like a bad looking girl, but nothing where you'd be like, holy shit, Dylan, how'd you fucking die like that? and you know, Dylan ended up like really like liking her. I think probably because she didn't like him as much as he liked her. And because I think when you're traveling and you lack that confidence, you kind of like look for someone who has it almost.
That makes sense.
Because they kind of fill that, they're the piece to that puzzle that, or the missing piece to that puzzle that you've got, you know? And I think that people are also oftentimes attracted to whatever it is that they lack but value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you don't have confidence but you admire people who do, that becomes something that you're attracted to. And I think that for Dylan, that's kind of like how it was for him. Well, what's so funny is like one of the hottest girls in the hostel like thought that he was so fit. Like the English girl thought that he was like so good looking, and like I don't know if he knew that. Like I don't know if I knew that before he actually left. But he easily could have hooked up with her. Like she sweat for that dude. She sweat for him. And but which is funny because like he would have definitely, like he would have loved to have hooked up with that girl. Like he thought she was really hot just like everyone did. But he just didn't have like the confidence to really make the move, which I think is where he went wrong. And then I think for myself in that situation, I think sometimes things just don't click.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Oh, we were talking about that. So I would say the single worst thing that happened to me, like single one event, was when I ate shit skateboarding, and I've like the scar has been really acting up. You see that scar on my hand?
Oh dang.
Yeah, it's pretty bad actually. You see it?
Did you get stitches for it?
Yeah.
Or was it?
Yeah, right there.
She's like, no, where is it?
Yeah, it's not so great. And then I've got like one right there. Can't really see it. And then one right there, and one right there. Because so dumb. It was so dumb. Me and it was this friend's birthday party. Who was here at this hostel, and I had just gotten here, so I didn't know that many people, and so I was so excited that I even got invited to someone's birthday party. I was like, no way. I was like, I made friends here. And then we went to this bottomless brunch where you pay like $60, and then you get to drink as much mimosa and Pim's cup as you want for 2 hours, as well as you get a dinner or like a lunch or whatever, breakfast. And so we were determined. Well, it was like dinner, and then I was like, wait, it was lunch, and I was like, wait a sec, it was more like a brunch more than anything, but not, because of course that's obviously so important to the story as well.
Did you witness this?
No.
Oh, okay.
This was like a few weeks into me being here.
Okay.
But, so we were drinking, we figured out that like, okay, $60, each bottle of champagne costs about like $8 or so. We were like, there's no way we're gonna be able to drink enough mimosas to find the bottom to this bottomless brunch. And we never did. It was remained bottomless to the end, but we tried our best. And so it was funny because like we all should go and do that at some point. It is so much fun, but it was funny because the first time you went, because you're drinking a lot, so you have to use the restroom. So the first time I went to go use the restroom, I walked in, I was like nodding to the staff. I go up the stairs, and then I take my piss, I come back, and we continue to drink. And I can't emphasize enough how drastic the change was between the first time and the last time. I'm like stumbling in, I'm like crawling up the stairs, like it was so bad. And then I remember bumping into walls and shit. It was just, the staff was like, thank God this whole crew is out here. And I ended up pissing off one of the girls really bad. This girl, her name was Selena, and she worked here at like reception, and she was attractive. I don't think her face was that attractive, but she was really well known because she had a nice ass. And she was a really aggressive lady. Like if she didn't like you, she hated you. And I think she started hating me after this day, because I went up to her and I was like this. I was like, when we got back, I was like, she was like, Connor, you do that one more time, I'm gonna slap you in the face. And I went like this to her again.
Danielle's like, do that one more time.
And she was like, and so she got pissed at me. But then we went to the lagoon and we brought some beers there and stuff. And I started drinking, but then I passed out and then I broke my Ray-Bans because I rolled over onto them, which is so dumb because the only reason I took them off in the first place was because I didn't want to have a sunglass. So I put them down next to me. Woke up, they were broken, and I was like, "Fuck, that sucks." And then we went back to the hostel where we continued to drink. So at this point, I was just like, man, I was fucked up. And like someone had some donuts, and I was like, I could use a donut. So I asked them, I was like, where did you get these donuts from? And they were like, oh, you can have one. And I was like, there's no way I would just eat one, you know? I would eat a whole box. They're like, well, it's 7-Eleven. It's too far to walk from here. And I was like, good thing I've got a skateboard. And so I was listening to music. It was just the whole bit of it was just so irresponsible because I was wearing these shoes that are really fucked up, so you don't get great balance on them. And then I was skating really, really fast, and I was on my phone. I was like, so just all of it was fucking dumb.
How do you know you were going so fast if you were so drunk?
What? Oh, because I was listening to only songs that were pumping me up. I was like, fucking donuts, let's go. And so I ate gnarly shit. And then I always something that I feel like I've always been really nervous about is would be doing anything that would fuck up my face. Because I think
not the face.
Well, it's because I think that for me growing up and stuff, it's kind of funny. I've never been insecure about I know some people get insecure about their bodies. I feel like I've never been insecure on my body. Not that I've always been immensely confident in my body, but I've just never been I've always just never had anything. I've never been oh, I've got weird nipples, or I've got a funny collarbone or some shit. I don't know. So I've never really been, but then I've always been wary of my face. You know what I mean? At least when I was younger. And so when I broke my nose when I was younger, I was like, oh fuck. So I was and then I accidentally stabbed myself in the face one time.
What the heck?
Which so I was sweeping actually. I was sweeping and so I got throughout college I got 2 scars on my face. I have a scar right here and then I have a scar on my eyelid. This scar.
Broom?
What?
Did you stab yourself with the broom?
Yeah. So.
Wait, I think I've heard this.
So what happened was with this one right here was between freshman and sophomore year of college, I lost a ton of weight. I lost a ton of weight because I was I'm gonna get fucking ripped. And part of it was because I had this girlfriend at the time, and I was like, she gives me the motivation that I need to get super ripped. And I was already in good shape, but I was I want to get peeled. I want to get peeled to the bone. And so I didn't drink it all over the summer. I ate not that much food, and I lost a lot of weight. So I was pretty I was in pretty good shape. But because I wasn't drinking, and then when friends started coming back from the summer, it's the first time we've all seen each other. We're all drinking quite a bit. And so I drank a lot when I was a freshman. I had a pretty good tolerance. Then I lost all that weight and hadn't been drinking, so my tolerance was kind of shit. So I had this glass boot called Das Boot, and I put 1.5 liters of wine into it, and I drank the whole thing pretty quickly. And we were playing ping pong, and I actually still continue to win games, even after I blacked out. But I remember in the morning, so the last thing I really remember was drinking that wine, and then don't even remember finishing the games of ping pong. But I woke up in the morning, and I looked down at myself, and I had my glasses on, but one of the lenses was not on there. I had scotch tape on my forehead, and then I was totally naked. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And so I went into the bathroom, and the day before I'd eaten a ton of hot dogs. I'd eaten a ton, so many hot dogs. And so on the floor of the bathroom was my phone that was on the health app or whatever, playing music. And there were my glasses lens or whatever, and my underwear. And I was like, why is this shit? Why is this here? And it was because I had, I had slipped, I think, because I had a scar right here. I had a little gash right here, and had taken my underwear off and I think tried to wipe up the throw up from the hot dogs, which was really bad. And then I guess I went into bed and put Scotch tape on my face. I don't really understand. But anyway, so that time, like, and I was so frustrated with myself because I was like, I don't know. And then the other time was with the broom, where I was like, I had been cleaning my room and I felt really productive. I think I have told you this, and then maybe not. And then I was like, oh well, because I feel so productive, I'm gonna sweep the garage as well. So I'm sweeping the garage, I have my headphones on, I'm fucking loving life. And then spider web comes down, and I'm like, oh fuck. And so I'm holding the broom, and this is a really old broom that has like a jagged top to it.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And when I'm swiping at the spider, my headphones start to fall. And when something like falls, you're like not even like you don't think about it, but you just do it. You try to catch it. So I didn't drop the broom though. So I fucking I got myself in the eye right here, and I was so frustrated with myself because I was just like, that was so fucking stupid. It was so dumb. And like I said, like, not that I don't feel like I've ever been like, oh, I have, you know, like an ugly face or anything like that. But I've always just been like, okay, like, you know, you don't want to make it any worse than what it is. like, you don't want to, if you're like, I don't know, it's like hard to describe,
I think we get it though.
Yeah, this is what the thing like looks like, that I'm telling you, it was fucking jagged.
While you do that, I'm just going to make sure the camera still has that.
But, where is it? There it is. Yeah, that's what went into my eye. Or like went into my eyelid. And then afterwards, this is what I looked like.
Hi, Charlie.
We're doing
a podcast.
We're doing a podcast.
What do you mean? Come on in.
I don't want to call this. This is what my eye looked like.
Aww.
It was not good. And I was very bummed out about it.
Where do you want to go?
I was work, Charlie. Was alright?
Yeah, I'm working tonight as well.
Jesus.
Yep, I'm gonna absolutely knacker myself out, but who gives a fuck? Hopefully this time 5 months from now I'll have 20k in my bank.
That would be pretty amazing.
I don't care.
But, oh yeah, so I was saying when I fell skateboarding.
You went on so many different stories through that.
You literally never know where it's going to end up.
No, this is going to be completely foul. Some stranger just walks into the room.
Showing off your legs to the camera too.
I'm too fucking
The nice calves. You want some water?
No, I got a Red Bull. I got a Red Bull.
But I like ate shit when I was skating, and I messed up my hand pretty bad. Like I said, this scar right here still hurts. And then I messed up my lip as well. And so I recorded a video telling myself what happened. And I'm
sorry for being rude. Just like, it's so rude.
She's
she's
No, I'm
laughing.
just looking at him like.
It's so rude. I'm gonna get rid of my room. Get the fuck out, I want to sleep.
Do you actually want to take a nap before you?
You guys are doing stuff, I don't give a fuck.
No, I mean we can definitely leave if you want to take a nap.
Yeah, we can relocate.
I mean, I don't know how long this has been going on.
How long is that shit?
It's been going on.
Yeah, Connor's got some stories.
I'm just saying stories and stuff.
So Connor's being Connor.
Yeah, Connor's being Connor. But we are going to reel it back in because we haven't even discussed like the main point of the podcast.
What's the main point of the podcast?
It's
not
about
about you
mental-
falling the
No,
sky,
it's
right?
about mental health.
I was gonna say apparently it's my stories.
No,
you have
it's supposed to be.
No,
It's supposed to be about mental health, but Connor is just full of stories.
I've taken over the podcast.
Yeah, he has. He really has.
This podcast has actually been
Connor's life.
The way that I scarred my face and my hands and shit.
So you've gone from mental health.
We haven't even covered mental health yet.
Connor, you should move to England. You know that saying? that person chat for England.
No. You know what's something that's funny that I got told though when I was in Sydney was this Irish guy was like, he's like the beauty of English women and the taste of English food is why the English became the greatest sailors the world has ever known. Do you get that?
No.
So it's the beauty of English women and the taste of English food is why the English became the greatest sailors the world has ever known. Do you get that? It's saying that it's saying yes, they can sail away from the English women and the English food.
Beautiful English women. Where?
What?
Where's the beautiful English women?
No, that's the thing. And so the joke is that it's not saying the beauty is good. It's not saying the taste is good. It's saying the taste is shit and the beauty isn't there. That's why they sailed to get away from England. And I thought that was hilarious when that guy told me that.
That's fair enough.
Okay, reeling it back in.
No, keep going, Connor. Keep going.
Oh yeah, I'm almost done. I'm almost done with the Scar story. So I recorded a video of myself talking, which I don't remember doing it, but it was so I would remember what had happened. And one of the things I talked about, because I had scarred up like right here on my lip as well, and what I was basically saying earlier is I was like, every time I've like messed up something on my face, I've gotten really like insecure about it or like nervous because of like I don't want to like it's kind of hard to describe really, but you just don't want to fuck up something that people like look at, you know what I mean? And so that was, I think, I don't know what the point of it was actually when I think about it. That was, so I was saying the worst thing, so that's the worst thing that had happened, and then the probably worst feeling that I had was down in Melbourne, when the weather was shit, and there was just nothing but French people. That wasn't good. And that job was not good. But anyway, sorry.
Okay, so...
So my story now.
So a while back, I think it was not a while back, like last week, I remember you saying at one point that like if you don't work out, then your mood is completely different.
Yeah.
So like, how does lifting help with your mood?
So how does lifting help with my mood?
Yeah.
I think lifting is...
Just imagine Connor there just going...
That's exactly actually what it's like.
Connor just sucking himself up.
Yeah, like, I think it's helped me a ton, like, when I was younger and stuff, like, I've always wanted to lift weights, like, when I was really, really young, like, maybe 8 years old. I'm not sure exactly why, I think it's because I watched a lot of, like, superhero things when I was, like, a kid, but I always was like, I want to, like, someday...
I want to be a superhero.
No, I was like, I want to work out, like, I want to look how those people look, you know?
Just saying, mate, you fucking nailed it. Put the glasses on, fucking Clark Kent over.
And when I was 8, I built my own bench press out of like 2 milk jugs or milk gallons, and I put a bunch of rocks in there for my backyard, and I had a big stick, and I duct taped it all together, and I tried to like use it. Obviously, it didn't work very well. I'm no engineer, but
I'll be back.
But it was something that eventually became like an outlet for my frustration and stuff when I was growing up, because like my family moved around quite a bit when I was younger, and I think when you move around a lot, it can become hard to like to meet and have like a really good set of friends, as well as I think that I was kind of like a little bit, let's say like maybe spastic as a kid. Like I had a lot of energy and I talk a lot, which like it's not like that's really all changed that much, but I don't think I was probably the most socially aware kid as well. And so I think that for me, like there were times where I felt really like isolated and kind of alone, and then my dad especially was like really tough on me growing up. So I'd have these like all these frustrations coming at me from like different angles and whatnot, and so then the way that I would get rid of that, the way that I would try to like work out that frustration was just like I do like push-ups in my room, or I do a push-up workout like every day or whatever, and then that just became like routine. And then you start to realize that what I realized is like when I don't work out, if I do take too much time off from it, I start to feel like just not like myself. I'm more irritable. I like if you take enough time off, you start to like look a particular way as well, which I think makes me feel bad, because it's like you never want to see yourself get worse at anything. It'd be
Yeah.
like if I put a lot of work into fucking playing darts and then I took time off and I was like, oh shit, I suck at darts now.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what was all that for, you know?
Yeah.
So, I feel like it needs to be like a part of my day, and I think one of the reasons why Melbourne wasn't so great for me is because I wasn't really working out. I wasn't really taking care of myself, and it's funny how like even though that seems like easier, like it's not always about what's easiest. It's about what produces the highest quality of life, and for me, like without a doubt, the highest quality of life is always working out and getting exercise.
Yeah.
Having that part of my life.
Yeah, 'cause definitely it changes something in your mind. And
Without a doubt.
Yeah. What about you? Like, what do you typically do for improving your mood, or?
It depends on like what my mood is. Like, is it because I've been with people too long? Is it because I've been by myself too long? Like, what is it that's affecting me? But I think journaling helps me.
Yeah.
Like just writing down. I always do it. Like any thought that comes to my head, I have to write it down. Like just to get it out. Because I'm not. Yeah. I would rather, like, you'd rather speak it, but I'd rather write it.
Yeah.
And then I would never read them again.
Throw it away.
But at least it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So if you were to meet someone on the street or in a hostel or somewhere that you could see, like physically see that they're struggling with their mental health, like they just look down in the dumps, and like, what piece of advice would you give them?
Well, I think that there's not like, I don't think usually it's like advice that helps people. Like I think sometimes you can give them like a little tidbit that maybe they're like, oh wow, like I wasn't looking at it from that perspective. But I think a lot of the time you just need to be there for that person. They just need someone to be there for them, because at the end of the day, I think sometimes when you are trying to give advice, and if you don't have that one little piece that's just gonna like click together super well, then I think that it ends up you can kind of almost do not more harm necessarily in most situations, but you can sound almost like you're grasping at straws trying to like put something together that will sound meaningful, versus just like putting your arm on someone's back, and like this is like what I always do if someone's like seems like they're like not doing too good, and just like kind of rubbing it a little bit, you know. Like I learned when I was working at this job in Arizona that it's usually like rhythmic things. So it's like if you go back and forth at like more or less the same pace, or you do something that's like this. This is what my mom used to always do for me and my brother. When we were sick, she'd like do this on our backs or our stomachs, and it would make us feel way better. And so this is like, that's like what I do. So I think that just making yourself known to that person that you're there for them, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, definitely, because like in that moment, if they're that low, they're not going to want to listen to really anything you have to say, and everything's going to sound more cliche to them, I think.
Totally.
So just being able to be there for them rather than like trying to force your mindset or something on them definitely helps.
I think as well, I would say to feel it. Like a lot of time with mental health issues or like anything that's like stressing people, you're just trying to like push it away and like just not deal with it. But I think sometimes you have, like if you need to cry, get it out. If you need to be alone, just do that. Like just do whatever you need to do right now, and then you can think about it when you're in a better headspace or whatever.
Exactly.
Come back to it.
Yeah. It definitely helps to like process it and feel it. And be there in the moment for it too, because eventually it is going to pass and you are going to feel better. So like if you are stuck in that really hard spot, then like just go through it. Like feel through it and it'll be better eventually.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Connor talked. You took over the podcast. It was great.
Yeah, I had to. Well, you know, I do enjoy talking.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually kind of cool how I didn't know that you do kind of the same thing, but journaling. And I feel like that kind of speaks to both of our personalities quite a bit. Is that like for me, it's like talking and like recording videos of myself
It's
talking.
like video journaling.
Yeah, video journaling versus for you, I feel like you're more of a like kind of like an introverted person, you know, and so it makes sense that it's like.
I didn't even make that connection, but yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of, isn't it? I thought so as well. Like, it speaks, I think, about who we are as like people, which is cool.
Yeah. So for like the lifting or working out, is that something, like, obviously people should work out and take care of themselves and stuff, but like, is that something that you could tell someone, like, hey, if you're going through a rough time, like, maybe you should try, you know, getting in the gym? Because I know people say that a lot, but like, why do you think that is?
Well, I think that it provides something for you to be proud of, which I think is really important. I think for building self-confidence or building yourself back up if you've been broken down, it's important to have things that you can consider yourself to be proud of, even if it's just going from, like, you know, you've been curling 5 pounds, now you're curling 7 pounds or whatever, you know, like little things like that. And that's something that I've always thought is really good about lifting, is like, oh wow, it's like you couldn't possibly imagine like lifting 100 pounds in something, and then if you stay at it for long enough, wow, it's like now I can do 100 pounds for, you know, however many reps or whatever. And so something that I think that someone would benefit from. I think it's really difficult, because I think if you are in like such a rough place, it can be hard for you to do the things you need to do in life, let alone add additional things.
Especially things that are hard, because like if you've never gone to the gym to lift, for instance, or if you've never done cardio and you're in a really bad spot, like I feel like going in and trying that could be even worse to you, because it'd be like, oh well, I fucking suck at this, like why am I here, this is making me feel worse. But then it's just that whole feeling of like continuously doing it, just like feeling your emotions, like you gotta keep doing it.
It's like that, have you ever seen that meme with the 2 miners and one of them's about to get the diamond, but they turn around and the other one gets the diamond? So I feel like it's kind of like that, like when you start doing something, oftentimes, like, you know, sometimes you love it from the get-go, but other times you need to kind of be kind of wooed by whatever the thing is. And I think that lifting is definitely one of those things, because you don't see results immediately. And I think, like, for some people, they go in and they are like, wow, I'm actually so much weaker than all these other people. Like, but at the end of the day, like, you know, no one else who's in the gym gives a shit about what you're doing. If they do, then fuck that person, you know? Like, I think it doesn't matter how much you can lift or where you're starting from, because if you put in that work, you can look however it is that you want to look, you know? Or even if it's just for the mental benefits, then you don't even have to be like lifting weights. You could just do the treadmill or any sort of exercise is really gonna
even like yoga, like just something physical.
It's so grounding as well. Yoga is. You know what's funny? I totally forgot that this podcast was about like lifting, jiu-jitsu, and all that stuff, because I literally just like, I was like, oh yeah, we're all just like talking about it.
I forgot it was in there.
I totally forgot.
No, that's great though. It's a lot of funny stuff. Yeah, that's all I got.
It's really cool hearing. Well, we didn't hear too much of your perspective on things. You're mostly asking questions and whatnot.
Yeah, well, you were mostly telling a story.
Yeah, mostly. But it is cool hearing, or it is cool to me to have the chance to hear what you guys, like, your perspectives on things as well. Because I think that at the end of the day, like, you know, like what you said, you meet so many different people traveling, and so many people who are like, just like everyone's so different from each other. You know, we all have such different backgrounds, and we all are such like different people. That it's like, it's just cool hearing, I think, what other people have to say.
Yeah, because like the whole reason I started the podcast in the first place, where I wanted to start it, was because like a year ago, going through a really, really tough spot. I actually ended up in the hospital because of it.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I was an EMT, and I saw some shit and dealt with some stuff. And then the guy that I was dating at the time, I'm not gonna get into that because I never want to like talk shit about someone, but like some stuff happened in the relationship that caused my mental health to plummet, and then along with my job, it all just kind of collided. And then he decided that he wanted to break up with me after like talking about like marriage and kids and all that stuff. So when he decided to break up with me, it was kind of like the explosion that made everything kind of collide together. So I ended up telling my parents that I wanted to kill myself, and I was in my car crying. Like I didn't tell them where I was or anything, and like my sister and my brother had to literally like come and find me. My parents called the cops. I was on a 72-hour emergency detention, so handcuffed, taken to the ER, all that stuff. And while I was at the ER, it was like the worst experience I've ever gone through in my life. It was like the moment of my life where it's just like, I will never allow myself to feel this way ever again, because it was just like, it was horrible. Like, I was in the ER for 2 days. They wouldn't tell me anything about what was going on or where like I was gonna go or anything. Like, they literally take your phone, they take your clothes, they take everything from you, and they have someone sit there and they watch you. So like, I was mourning my relationship, and I was mourning like what I had seen in my job, and I wanted to cry so bad. But if you cried in front of them, they'd be like, nope, this person needs help. So like, you just had to be like stone faced the whole time. So they wouldn't tell me where I was going or what was happening. And then finally at like 3 a.m. the next day, they're just like, okay, so we've got this spot at the behavioral hospital for you to go to so you can be evaluated by a psychologist, because they didn't have one at the ER. And then I went to the behavioral hospital, and it was terrifying because they didn't have a room in the floor that was supposed to be for just people that were depressed and stuff. So they put me with like the loonies, which was absolutely terrifying, because like, there were women, like the doors like have to be kept open, and so there was women like walking up and down the hallway, like stripping completely naked, peeing in the doorways. And then there was a lady that was like in the room right next to me, and I did not want to leave my room because I was absolutely terrified. I was like, this is the most terrifying experience I've ever been through. But the lady in the room next to me, she kept screaming about how she wanted to like rip people's veins out with her fingernails. And I was like, at that moment, I was just like, that was the moment for me that I was just like, I let myself go down this horrible route to the point where it led me to this spot that I'm in right now, and I will never let anyone or anything make me feel this way ever again, which is why like, I typically try to like make other people feel better, and like, I try to be as like smiley as I can, because like, I never want anyone else, for me, like, I don't want to ever interact with someone else and them think that I don't appreciate them or think that they're worth anything, because I never want anyone to end up in that situation either. So then like, the couple months after I got out of the hospital, because like, they cleared me and everything, they were just like the psychologist talked to me, and he was just like, yeah, you're just going through a rough time, like, you shouldn't have even been in here. And then they were like apologizing to me the entire time I was in there, because they're like, yeah, you shouldn't have even been put over here. Like, it was just like, my parents got worried, so they called the cops and everything, which I like appreciate that they did that, because like, it did bring my family a lot closer together. But then like, the months after that, like, it was really hard for me to kind of accept where I was, and like, I felt super judged. I lost a bunch of friends, most of which were friends of my ex. Like, I met them through him, so like, as he left, like, each one of them started dropping off. But it was definitely the moment for me that when I was in the hospital, where I realized that guy was like not for me, because I was at my absolute lowest point. Absolute lowest point, and he blocked me on everything. Like, my sister and like, apparently they like talked and everything, and then like, the next day when they finally gave me my phone back, I looked to see if I got any kind of messages from him. It was just radio silence, blocked on everything, never heard from him again. He never even like checked up on me or anything. And to me, I was just like, if you care about someone, and like, we were together for like 2 years, so if you care about someone and you're saying like all these things about how you want to like get married, you want to have kids, you want to do all these things with them, but they hit that lowest point and you disappear on them, that was the point that's just like, nah, he didn't give a shit about me. So then afterwards, I started doing a bunch of like, just dabbling on my computers and stuff, and my friend Mark, he runs like White Shark Ocean in South Africa, and he was like, hey, you should consider like maybe talking about this. And like, I was like, well, what if I made a podcast? And he's like, I think that's a really great idea, because then you could like help people out that are also struggling and kind of share your story with it. So that's why I wanted to make a podcast. So.
I think that is really amazing that what you got out of all that in the end was you wanting to like help other people and share your story, so that other people would maybe feel comforted, and as well as like feel like that they're not alone, you know? And I think it's interesting to me, because there's a few people in this hospital who like have gone through these like really, you know, traumatic or crazy events in their life, and they always seem to be the people that are the most smiley and the most friendly and you know, the sweetest or whatever. And it's so interesting how that seems to work sometimes. And I think it's because those people have such tender hearts that they never want to see someone go through what they went through. They don't wish that upon anyone else, which is really sweet, I think. But it does suck that people have to go through that stuff. And I think relationships are so complicated as well, because I think when you're in something that you think is good, or maybe it's just that you want to think that it's good, then you'll give yourself any reason to convince yourself that it's, hey, we can make this thing work.
Yeah, you gotta fight through all of it. And it's
then because they're just a funny thing, you know, like, because when you think about it, like I have a lot of friends that are in relationships. Some of them may go on to marry the person that they're with. Some people maybe won't, you know? And then you kind of think about it. You're like, well, why are you in a relationship if you're not going to eventually get married? Because, like, you know, but then it's just also there's like the fun aspect of being in a relationship and the fun aspect of having that companionship where it doesn't have to be, you know, your partner for, like, life. It could be your partner for, you know,
a little while,
a little bit, or like a season of your life, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that growth comes from, like, relationships. I think that when you are in one because I think that you're different when you're in a relationship, when you're with that person, than you are with other people, you know what I mean? Like, I think the relationship version of me is different than the normal version of me, you know? And it's kind of weird because I don't think you don't get to know that relationship version of you until you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like you know, you kind of hope that you like that person, but sometimes like relationships make you do crazy things, like or not crazy things, but things that are irrational. You know what I mean? Like irrational in like a good way sometimes. But also sometimes like, sometimes also in a bad way. Like for example, like my brother's in a relationship and he gets like irrationally jealous or nervous that like she's gonna hook up with someone when she goes out or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's because when you have like something that's like this little candle giving you warmth and stuff, you're like always paranoid that there's a wind that's gonna blow it out, you know? And so it's just funny. Like, I've thought so much about relationships and whatnot, and they're just interesting because when I look at relationships, like, and I look at all the old, like, tried and true relationships that I see in my life, my grandparents, my parents, my aunts and uncles, like, there's so few of them where I'm like, wow, they have a perfectly spotless, you know, marriage and relationship, and wow, it's so not codependent at all, and like, I see this with relationships here as well at the hostel, where I'm like, goddamn, like, the reason it functions is because they both are just so reliant on each other for different things, which I think can be good. But
it can also be really dangerous.
But it can be really bad too. Like, my, for example, my dad and my mom, like, they, like, my mom doesn't make any decisions, right? My dad makes all the decisions, and he's kind of the voice of the relationship. And, like, it's kind of, like, I think over the years just shut down my mom's confidence in herself a little bit. Because, like, I think when you're like, when you're just in charge of everything and someone listens to everything that you say, you're naturally just not going to have as much, I think, respect for them, you know? But relationships don't start off like that usually. No, they end up developing into that, which is scary.
Because someone always ends up like backing down and being like the more submissive person, and which can be really dangerous because like that's where you start losing who you are. And I believe that like for relationships to actually work, like you have to stay individuals. Yeah. Like you can become one person, but like stay who you are and do what you want and like support each other through what you want. And like I think one of the biggest
say was that something that I do think is really special and nice about relationships though is like we all like see ourselves all the time, you know? So like we have certain things that like, you know, we're either used to or we don't necessarily like about either the way that we look or the way that we act, or our personalities or something like that, you know? But what I think is really special is like when you are in love with someone, then it's like they actually really love all of those things about you, you know? Like, I had a girlfriend who had like a freckle, like kind of near here on her face, and I thought it was like so cute. I thought it was so cute. And she was like, oh, I've always been like insecure about that. And I was like, that's so funny, right? Because like, I think when you're in a relationship, if you could see yourself the way that like through the other person's eyes, you'd be like, holy shit, I'm the coolest thing that's
Yeah,
ever fucking existed ever, you know? So I think that's something that's really nice about relationships, and like finding that kindred like spirit is something that I think we all like strive for eventually, but there's such a painstaking process to eventually get there,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it's definitely like the person you're like the type of person you're with too, because like I was saying earlier before the camera died, like I think it's so dangerous to get that codependency, and like it's important to keep that individuality, because like every person is gonna grow throughout their entire life, and I feel like the reason most relationships fail is because you come into a relationship with an expectation of who that person is rather than seeing them as someone who's growing just the same as you.
Yeah.
So if you're able to appreciate that person through all their stages of growth throughout their whole life, then it'll work out better than having that expectation of like, oh, well, 5 years later, you're not the same person that I met, 5 years ago, so I don't really like you anymore, rather than being like, oh, well, I see that you've changed, I've seen that you've grown, and I still love you through all that growth.
Because they've probably also changed as well, so it works both ways.
Yeah. But coming into it and like having that expectation of like, oh no, this person is perfect the way they are right now. They're never gonna grow. If they grow out of this, then I'm not gonna like them as much. Like I think that's where relationships can really fail.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to get into a relationship and be like, oh, if they like, be like, yo, like, my girlfriend is such a fat ass, if she loses it, I'm dumping her immediately.
Oh my gosh.
Or like something like that. Like, yeah, I think it's important that you grow together and not apart, obviously.
And be able to like acknowledge that the person's gonna go through bad times and good times, and like they're just the same as you, where it's
yeah,
we're all human.
Yeah,
I definitely think a relationship should add to your life as well. Like if it's not, then just don't be in one. Like
Yeah.
There should be no like.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to when you're so used to being in a relationship, it's so easy to end up sticking in one just because for the sake of it. It's like there's this I forget what it's called, but if you need to get to a place that's about a mile away, you'll walk if it's any less than a mile, but you'll drive if it's any more than a mile. So it actually sometimes benefits you for it to be a little bit further away, because you'll actually get there a lot quicker. If it's 2 miles away, you'll get there a lot faster than if it's like 1 mile away, because you'll walk if it's 1 mile, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing where it's actually better sometimes to have a really shitty job compared to a kind of shitty job. Because if it's kind of shitty, you'll give yourself these reasons and justifications like, well, I'll stay in here, da-da-da-da-da. So if you're in a kind of shitty relationship, that's actually a lot worse than being in a really shitty relationship. As long as in that really shitty relationship, you're like, okay, I'm out of here, fuck this, have a good rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because when you're in that kind of shitty relationship, you're like, we've been in here for a while, and like, kind of have a good thing going, or at least it was a good thing, and I remember those times, and it's not really like that anymore. But I think situations like that, you are really dangerous to get into. I think especially when you start throwing like kids in the mix and whatnot. It's like, then it's like, oh, well, we'll stick together for the kids, I guess,
Yeah. If you feel like your mental health is declining, like, rapidly because of a relationship you're in, that's when it's just like, okay, maybe I should think about this not being the best thing for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be making it better. Like, we all love the idea that, like, if we're in a relationship, we have that person that, like, knows us better than anyone else in the world, and, like, when you, like, when you cry, they're your shoulder to cry on. They're like the crutch when your leg's like fucked up or whatever. I don't know what analogy that would be, but like it's not always like perfect.
But you have
picture perfect though.
Yeah, but you have that person that's like always going to be there regardless, and you can trust and rely on, and still be yourself.
How many relationships have you been in?
3, and they were all very long term. The first one was 6 years.
Wow.
The second one was 2 years, and this last one was 2 years.
Wow. What age were you for the 6-year one?
Just turned 20.
So 20 to 26?
Yeah, and he was like, he cheated on me like the first week.
Really?
Yeah. But at the time, I was like super naive, and I was just like, okay, well, this is like, it was like the first time I'd ever like had sex and stuff too. So I was like, oh, this person's got to be like the person because I chose him and I gave myself up to him. And like the way I grew up was like my parents were just like, oh, your virginity's the most like important thing a girl can have. And so like he cheated on me, and I was just like, well, no, I'm supposed to stay with him. And so I was like really naive through it, and like the whole relationship was like based off of him like lying and stuff like that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
But yeah. It's funny how like sometimes also I was saying it's good to know yourself in a relationship, but the other thing is I think depending on how a relationship eventually ends, it can create these different like thought patterns in your brain that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't been in an unhealthy relationship where now you're kind of like on the lookout for certain things.
You definitely you're definitely a little bit hyper vigilant looking for like any signs of like, oh, this could end badly, or I know where this is going, or I've heard this before.
That is the motherfucker like thing about relationships as well, is like when they're at their best they're like so amazing and they're incredible, but then when it falls apart or if it's at its worst, you're like, holy shit, there's no worse thing in the world. Like maybe there is, it probably is worse to get like shot or something, I don't know, but
the feeling is like
is fucking horrible.
So before the camera dies, this is my guest book, and I would like for y'all to put in like a quote or something that has meant a lot to you throughout the years, and then just kind of talk a little bit about it. A little bit. Don't go off on a whole tangent. I don't have time for that. And then sign your name at the bottom.
You want to go first because I have to think about it.
I don't know. I always say like, like the thing where it's like, if you're not going to think about it in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it now. And I think like,
oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that.
Because it just helps you to like look at a situation like logically, I guess. So there's no feelings involved. It's just like, okay, if there's nothing you can do right now, that's fine. Just like do what you can, basically.
Yeah, no, that's good, because I feel like a lot of people need to think that way. I definitely did for a while, because it was like I'd get so stuck in like my feelings right then and there that I'd be like, oh, there's nothing else besides this feeling right now, like I'm not gonna be able to get through it, and then eventually it's like, oh wait, like that was really dramatic.
That's so true, isn't it?
And I guess it's about like being present and like taking the time to think about things, because a lot of the time you're thinking about, like, was it you who said this, like
Connor said a lot of things.
I said a lot of stuff.
Like anxiety or whatever is just like worrying about things that might not happen.
Yeah.
There's a quote, I can't remember it, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
something like that.
Talking about how, like, the thing about anxiety is you could worry about something happening, but it's not going to change whether or not that thing does happen.
Yeah.
Like, if you're on a plane and you're anxious that the plane's going to crash, it doesn't matter if you worry about it or not. The plane's going to either crash or not crash, no matter what.
You don't have control over it.
Yeah, don't worry about things you can't control, basically. I like that a lot about, if you're not going to worry about it in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I really like
on
that.
it. I think that's
Okay,
good.
we'll go with that one then.
Perfect.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the things that I sometimes stress myself out about here are things that I'm not even going to think about in like in a week.
You're not even going to remember what you were worried about.
So true.
Yeah.
But, so
we're almost done. I promise. We're almost done.
What?
Almost done. Almost.
I don't know how long we've actually been in here for. I've got no idea what time
The
it
first
is.
video was
Connor,
an
if they're in the
hour.
room with you, they're going to be in here for
How do I actually word the quote?
It
If you're
was
not gonna
If you're not gonna worry about it in 5 years, don't spend
Okay.
more than 5 minutes thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think that was a really good quote. That was
Yeah.
hers. It was really good. Mine is probably not as good as that one.
Life ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
Good
Float
vibes
like a
only.
butterfly, sting like a bee. Charlie, did you hear me when I came in last night, or was I pretty
Oh,
quiet?
no, I was out.
Okay, cool.
I
I
was
thought
dead.
I was pretty. I feel like I was pretty quiet, but I was also so hammered.
I'm pretty sure I was dead to the world. I was just out.
Do your legs hang off the bed when you lay on these? Because
I mean, no,
I
but
feel like.
they probably would. But they can't because they've got poles there.
So do you
Yeah.
like sleep with your legs curled?
A little, yeah. I am that tall.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was
No,
like, I
short
feel like
person
you're
people,
taller
yeah.
than the book.
Short people problem.
Yeah, dude, you could shrink this bed in half.
Cause I'm 5 foot.
Yeah, dude, 4'9".
Time for conditioning.
Yeah, my 6 inches went somewhere else.
Oh my
Definitely
god.
not down there.
No, definitely not.
Oh,
You can do it, Connor.
well, definitely shower time now.
I like Yasmin's hair. Her handwriting quite a bit. That's
I know, I've not written for so long.
your handwriting's really good as well.
It can be a lot better.
My
Right.
handwriting's shit. It's
This
gonna
was
be
Michael's. He forgot to sign it. So that was Michael's.
Mine's just ride the camel. Because I forgot to talk about I forgot to talk about it, but like something that we've always talked about in my family is like a bunch of years ago when we were in Arizona, we were at the zoo and it was like spring break or whatever, and Arizona's really hot, especially in springtime, well, especially summer, but like springtime as well, and it's an outdoor zoo obviously, so it's fucking boiling hot. We're all thirsty, tired, hungry, like you name it. And so we're leaving, and my dad sees that there's this little pen with a camel, and he's like, hey, like, boys, like, Connor and Emery, you guys want to ride this camel? And we're like, no, we want to go get food and water, we're exhausted, we don't want to ride the camel. And he's like, come on, he's trying to, and we're really like, no, we don't fucking want to ride this camel. And he's like, if you ride this camel now, for the rest of your life, if someone ever asks you, have you ridden a camel, you'll always be able to say, yes, you have. And for whatever reason, that just stuck in my family so much. And, like, it's always, like, if you're going to have an opportunity to do something, you should always do it. Because at least at the end of the day, you can say that you did. Like, and that's led me to do so many different things that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise. Because I was like, fuck it. Like, at the end of the day, if, you know, it's important. Like, life is so finite, and you know, someone I saw on Instagram the other day, life is like an hourglass, right? And on the top you have, you know, the future, what hasn't happened yet. The middle is the point that's happening right now, and then the stuff on the bottom is the past. You can't control really anything that's going to be happening in the future. It still has to happen to you. The past is already the past, right? So you can't control that. And so you end up like, you just don't know how much time you have in that top hourglass, right? You hope that you have, like, you know, like 50 years or whatever, but, you know, you could die, like, tomorrow, like, and you just want to do as many things, and, like, you don't want to have regrets. Like, something that I thought was really amazing, actually, was I saw this, this little tidbit on, like, here, I'll just show you the video, it's so great. It's Theo Vaughn, but who's like a comedian. But he actually, you'll just have to listen to it. I'll play it.
Also, me being on this podcast is riding the camel.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that same thing earlier. I was like, it is actually you riding a camel.
No, it's awesome. I actually really like that, ride the camel.
Yeah.
Make it into a t-shirt.
And so, you know what's funny is I actually, when I was in Barcelona, I met these two girls who were from America who were traveling through Barcelona on their way to Italy. And we ended up hitting it off and whatnot. And I told them about the whole thing with, like, hey, you know, I basically told them that same story about how our family just is always like, ride the camel. And so those girls actually ended up inviting me. Like, one of them was into me, and so she volunteered to pay for my ticket to come from Spain to Italy. And she was like, hey, you gotta ride the camel. And then for her, it was her birthday or something like that, she was celebrating it in Italy. And I didn't, because I was actually in Morocco. I wasn't in Barcelona, because we went from Barcelona to Morocco. And so if I had, it would have been like paying, you know, $300 or whatever for less than 24 hours that I actually get to spend there. And I wasn't that into this girl either. and so I didn't end up doing it. So I guess that's a situation where I did not ride the camel. But when they came back through Barcelona, they told me that they were going to get matching tattoos, her and her friend. But they didn't, and they were gonna get a camel or like ride the camel or something like that. Because I'm telling you, these girls loved that saying so much.
It's such a good
It
saying.
is,
Like
it
once you
is.
understand what it's
Yeah.
about, it's good. Like I would make a T-shirt out of that for sure.
And
It could be dangerous, I feel, though, because any situation, just do it, ride the camel.
Yeah, I ended up riding a bull when I was in Arizona because and my family thought that was so great because they were like ride the camel but also ride the bull. It was great.
No, that's great.
Um,
Don't forget to sign it with your name. Don't we know it's from you.
fuck. There you go. But I think it's important to live life in that way, to take risks and stuff. This is the thing I was talking about. Was I think it's really great. I screen recorded it, so it's on this part right here, but it's.
What would I tell my 21-year-old self? I would say ask her out. No matter who she is, whether she's a job or a new city or an actual person. Whether she's an opportunity or a fear. If you're afraid of heights, ask her out. Hey, heights, what you doing tonight? Like whatever she is, man, ask her out. And man, I just, if I can go back to that moment and just not be afraid, just recognize that whatever could be out there, I could have it.
I like that.
I think that's so great, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for being on my podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was great. Connor's stories were. I might fast forward through some of them.
Fair enough.
Put it in double speed.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But it was awesome, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Proud of
having
you
me.
for doing that as well.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
guys.
awesome. Yeah. Okay, take it off.